Hey, it's Mac. Welcome to the Man Cave, and thanks for tuning in to Mac's Man Cave chats this week with my special guest, Rudy Reyes. Yeah. Just want to let you know this is my second episode of Mac's Man Cave chats, and I'm I'm totally freaking honored and humbled to have like one of the most real guys I've met in the veteran community since I've been retired, and we were fortunate enough to live together for a month and really
Yep.
get to know each other, tell some old guy stories. But yeah, so for all of you here, I got my brother Rudy Reyes, and I wanted him on here because, like we talked about before with the first one, is we've all got stories, especially us guys who have been out for a while, and we understand the struggles of transition, and we can relate to what you're going through, but also we want you guys to understand that you're not, just because you're young and you get out of the military, you're not the only one dealing with things. I mean, I'm a retired command sergeant major, and every day I'm fighting these
Yeah.
demons, and that's and and I like to call out other senior leaders on here and tell you guys need to be saying the same thing to these guys. Once you retire, you'll see when you step out. It's not about being that hard ass sergeant major anymore. It's about learning how to be open with these guys and gals and letting them know that, hey, we're all in this together, man. We're all dealing with the same crap, just on a different scale. So
Well said.
so with that said, like I said, I'm so honored to have you here, brother. And I want to start off by saying, we both we both recently filmed a pretty badass project, The Secret Ascension A. It was a honor to be on that with you, man, and live with you. And I learned so much about acting from you because I had no clue what to do.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you, Mac.
yeah, but it was like I said, man, it's such a humbling experience, and I learned so much, and I learned so much from you. And Stephen and I talked about the film a lot. Obviously, what we could talk about, but really, man, what I wanted you here for, brother, is talk about your projects, why they're important, man, and then we just do some real talk, man, about
Sure.
struggles we faced, and how we're getting through it, brother. So
That's
yeah, with
right.
that said, man, I'll turn it over to you, brother.
Thank you, Mac. Oh, brothers,
Yeah,
thank you for having me on. I love you. I love you immensely. And
yeah, I love you
things.
too, brother.
I love you so much. We've been up many nights talking real talk, and then waking up and doing real work. And it's so interesting from the outside, people that have not experienced it, by doing theater or music or film. It can be such an emotional therapy and spiritual therapy, because we are in an opportunity and an environment to express ourselves without any rules, and also with input and connection to other people who are also artists and empaths. And I think there's something very special about us being warrior veterans and then having an opportunity to express ourselves. Because remember, coming up, and then even I'm sure when you being in leadership, NCO levels, and then staff, and then senior staff, massive leadership positions, we couldn't express ourselves then either. We led.
No.
We definitely led, and we gave direction, and we held ourselves accountable as well as our subordinates and our peers, but we couldn't necessarily express how we felt. Now with the projects that we do in movies and TV, music, we get a chance to express ourselves. And I think that it's very healing. And I saw it, you taught me about metal. We talked about metal and music. And then
Yeah.
on set, we worked on showing up as the best example of a Big Mac that he can be, without any chains, trappings. Nobody can hold you back or hold you down. You are in a free fire Big Mac attack situation.
Yeah.
You are in a free fire situation, and you control your own left and right lateral limits artistically. And I think it's incredible, brother. I think, and the energy. Remember, I just kept telling you the energy.
Yeah, the energy.
The energy.
Yeah.
What did you think about that experience when you were doing it yourself, brother? That first time.
Well, it was you know, like I said, I had so many reservations at first because
Yeah,
you know, I never acted, never been on a film set, you know, and then, you know,
Yep.
knowing I had to be shirtless around you, it was gonna, you know, that was another
thanks,
piece.
brother. And it
But
was cold too, dog.
yeah, it was. But no, man, it was truly a humbling experience. But it was like, for me, it was so awesome being out there and being a part of that, because it almost felt like I was back with a platoon back in the day, you know, like
For sure.
I mean, hell, even every night, you know, you get the call out for the next day. It's basically like an X check or freaking con op,
Absolutely.
you know.
It was
But
barracks life again. It was
yeah,
barracks life back at the team house.
yeah. And then, you know, and then the filming days was just what we're used to: suck it up and drive on and make it happen. And
For sure.
but I
In
tell you,
tough
man,
conditions, in cold conditions, nothing ever perfect. And then Semper Gumby, always flexible, making shit happen. It's really like the military. You can see why I enjoy it very much, because it's actually very similar to our experience as military men.
Yeah, man, it was, you know, it was just so good to be in that environment, you know, and to, you know, it just, I don't know, man, it was like therapeutic, you know,
Very
like
much so.
after being out for a couple of years. And then, you know, I challenged myself physically a lot, you know, but to challenge myself that way, I had never done that, you know, like,
I hear you.
because it is a weird, I'm good at talking to people. I mean, hell, I was a sergeant major, but to have all these cameras and all these people right there in your face, and you're not supposed to even know they're there, you know, it's difficult. But it was, you know, like I said, man, it was such an awesome experience. And, you know, it gave me, you know, anything I can do to where I learn and I get more of my blinders
I saw
off,
it
you
in
know?
you, brother. You turned back into a student and into a young soldier, soaking everything up, ears open, listening, watching, asking questions. And I could see the years in you rolling backwards. You know, when we were in that state, we're now 20 years old again and just trying to suck up everything we can. And then it can shift the other way. Next thing you know, you're an old dude bullshitting with me or somebody else. Yeah. And then we're going back to Afghanistan, and we're going back to the freaking squad bay. And what a dynamic is that, where you have to be on as a pro and a professional, which means a heart completely open and vulnerable, taking direction, being aware of camera and lighting, so it's a thinking man's game too. And also, we had some seasoned actors out there that were very, very good. And you know, all of this dynamics. And then when we're finally done with our scene, and the people out there don't know, it's a master, and then it's a freaking tight master or two shot. Now it's over your shoulder. Now it's over their shoulder. And you have to make it fresh every time. And it seamlessly is cut together. But every scene takes 3 to 5 to 8 hours to do. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And then when that's finally wrapped and we're moving on to another scene, and, you know, we're lucky Nate Boyer gets to do some acting, somebody else gives us a break. And then we're watching their work, watching the grips and everybody hustle, and the director of photography running. And then we're talking, having our sidebar as well. I mean, what a dynamic environment for learning and for therapy. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. Yeah, man, absolutely. Like, it, you know, and it's all, you know, the way I look at life, man. And I have guys that ask me all the time for advice, you know, especially when they come to 82nd, you know, I still get hit up all the time. And my number one piece of advice for any young person, not just a soldier, but for anybody going into any kind of profession, is if you know you don't know everything, you're going to be successful, because every day you're going to be a sponge and you're going to learn. But once you get to that point to where you think I'm the expert and I know everything, then you're going to have issues. Because, hell, even me, 25 years in the Army as a command sergeant major, I learned every day still. Oh, for sure. And there's a challenge every day. Every day. And that's what, you know, to me, that's
that's what life's about. And like we talked about with this, man, like, you know, it's not about what you and I did in combat, man, or what we did in the military. That's our life. That's who we are. It defined where we're at. But what really defines us is what we're doing tomorrow. You know,
Absolutely.
like where are we moving to? And that's what I love about you, man, is you
Thanks, brother.
you never stop, but you got a way of talking to people, but you make it to where the conversation can be open and there's no judgment, you know, like,
Yes.
like for me and I learned a lot from you on that too, because since that I've been a lot more open about a lot of my problems, man. And
I'm with you.
and it feels good to be that way, because, you know, like at the end of the day, all of us who served our country, or firefighters, police officers, all that stuff, we got nothing to prove to anybody. You know, we owe it to us to kind of to figure out how to take that weight off, man. And
that's and I think that's the shift, brother. And that's something we need to say every day, say to ourselves every day, and put out. And you're right, because we have to remind ourselves of that. I still struggle with it too, brother. I just got a knee surgery. I'm running my putting my CBD. I just got a knee surgery, brother. I'm facing mortality and age now too.
Yeah.
And then with the slippage of what we used to be able to suck up and whoop it on and dominate, when that slowly erodes away, as it does, then we start looking in the mirror and becoming so critical, and then even ashamed that we were not what we once were. And then all self-love goes out the window. All positive self-talk goes out the window. Next thing you know, we start reacting and acting out outwardly about what we feel we're missing or is beyond us now inside. And brother, that takes every day. We have to have that positive self-talk of, wait a second, we have nothing more to prove, including to ourselves, because we've done it. But we do need to be happy and healthy and have the benefit of being alive after all the heavy shit we've done. We need to give ourselves a hug. We need to remember that we are special, and that we are special because our hearts are special. Our bodies will break down. We'll lose our hair, but our hearts are special. A man or woman that serves their country or any higher calling in service, whatever that may be, teachers, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, surgeons, military men and women, anyone that's serving a higher vibration, that heart is special. And we have to remind ourselves of that, because if we don't, we are all, it seems to me that we're all a bit more empathetic. People like us feel the pain and feel the struggle and sorrows of others. And that's maybe why we're able to rush machine gun nests, why we're able to rock and roll when the chips are down, instead of once saying, holy moly, I'm taking fire, holy moly. We've got impacts. If we go forward, we're going to be killed. Instead of saying that, we say, now is the time to act. There is a threat that endangers others.
Yeah,
and I don't care about what it will do to me, but I'm going to do everything I can to engage and destroy that threat so that others may live. That kind of heart, brother, is very special. We have to always love that kind of heart.
And with what you just said right there, man, with the heart, and we have to engage that threat for others, and, you know, keep our brothers and sisters around us safe. You know, that part of our lives is always going to be there, and that's always going to be within us. But what we have to do now is we have to look at, you know, what are we doing for our heart to keep us safe?
Absolutely. We talked earlier on a sidebar about our whole mission, our whole culture since our young adulthood has been compartmentalizing our health and safety, compartmentalizing our fear, compartmentalizing also our desires and comforts, whether that means going home to mama, whether that means having a little bit of hot chow if that means sleeping, we compartmentalize all that away. And why? Out of love and respect and honor, with searching for something and protecting something higher. But now, brother, we are now out of that structure. We have to see our own physiology and brain as well as emotional center. We have to see that as our new platoon. This is our new unit. This is the unit. And we need to pour that kind of passion back into this unit. It is not selfish. It is self-centered. Centered. And from a center, you know you can do anything.
Man, that is the perfect way to put it, man. You know, like I was trying to explain that to people yesterday, you know, it's like, it's, you know, you have to be selfish now, because that was the only way I really knew how to put it. But I love the way you just said it, you know, self-centered. Center your focus on you, you know, like,
that's it.
Like your objective or your limit of advance is what's right here. What's in your bubble.
That's right, brother. That's right, brother. And look how you and I are now fighting in ways like for business, bringing money in, taking care of the home. We're fighting for our health so that our damn arms and legs and we fight that arthritis to not have us fucking hurt like we, you know, for all the hard shit we did our whole lives. We fight for sleep because, you know, when we sleep well, we awake ready to attack the day, and we're wise enough to know there always will be problems every day. But if you're freaking self-centered, rested, and have a great attitude when you wake up, you can. We're professional problem solvers. No big deal.
Yeah.
These are the things. These are the enemies we fight now, and the objectives that we need to absolutely not only achieve, but then go beyond. I mean, we've got the Everests of life ahead of us. Everests.
Yeah.
We become grandparents. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It's not about, you know, once you're done with all the stuff that we did, man, it's not about surviving. It's about thriving. You know, you know, you want to survive, but surviving is tough. Thriving
and that's in a reactive state.
Exactly.
And Mac, survival is in a reactive state. It's very, brother, with what's happening also in our country, in the division, there's many, many people, especially young people, that have not been in a direction that are reacting. And it's there's a very thin membrane between being reactive and being a victim. So
truth.
When we're in survival, we're right there in reactive. But thriving is stepping into our personal space, utilizing our wisdom and experiences, and really the bravery and strength of love and compassion. Now we can start to thrive. We see challenges and struggles and problems as opportunities, as opposed to victim. Holy smokes, it's all over me like a cheap suit. Now I'm going to have to hit that bottle hard, and if I hit it too hard, I might be thinking about grabbing that pistol. Right?
Yeah, that is the perfect way to put it. You know, and
right.
And you know, I have a lot of younger paratroopers hit me up all the time, and you know, and when they get out, man, when they get out of the environment that we grew up in, you know, they get out there and they feel alone. They don't have somebody telling them, tie your boots this way, do this, do that. And what they're doing is all of those things that you just talked about, instead of facing it and owning it and knowing that enemy is there, but you can gain fire superiority over that enemy and take them out. What they're doing is they're letting the enemy consume them. And by that, what I say is, like, you know, I can self-loathe all day long.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, you know, with everything that we've been through, we can do that. And I tell guys, you know, like,
and it would be endless, Mac. If we go down that road, it's endless.
Yeah.
And we're almost a dead man walking if we want to go that route.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I think a problem with a lot of that, man, is like, there's not enough. And you know, at least in my experience and where I come from, and I'll tell you, 3 years ago, there's no way I would have thought the way I think now.
I understand. Or you would not be able to emote and
I
speak
wouldn't.
to with confidence and the strength to what you're speaking to now. You were going through it, but you really didn't have, you were probably still too afraid and too angry to speak on this.
I was afraid. I was angry.
Mm-hmm.
I felt as a senior leader that if I come out and say, I'm feeling this way every day, I'm constantly pissed off, then the people that look up to me as a senior leader are going to think less of me,
Of course.
And what I've learned, man, is, and this is mainly for people like that get out of the military and they don't really face stuff. And every day is just such a challenge. But once you get to where you can say, all right, that happened, man. That was part of my life. And it's always going to be there. And there are going to be situations to where it brings it back when I don't want it to. But if I can face it on my terms, like if you and I are talking, drinking a beer or something, and something reminds me of something bad, it's not like it used to be. Used to, I would just be so angry and like, I would just want to punch somebody in the face because
I hear you.
I was hurting so bad that I just wanted somebody else to feel the same way and get that hurt off of me. And and now it's about what I've learned is if you can just take a step and say, look, man, all these things happened. We lost brothers. We've had brothers not come back in one piece and stuff like that. We've
lost loved ones. We've been frightened because our own health and wounds and damages has taken us out of the fight. And since our whole identity was the fight, we were scared too, and it was continuous, and we didn't rest and we didn't sleep. And then sometimes when we would rest, we would be in a coma. And it's how do you? It's very difficult to speak on like bullet points about those things to people that have not been through it. So what do? We just stuff it down. But eventually,
way down in there.
Yeah, and then eventually something pops off, and now we're in the middle of a hurricane, and the hurricane inside of ourselves, right?
But if you can get to the point to where you know those things are there, and you can rationalize why you feel the way you do.
Yes.
It won't consume you. You can use it. You can use it. Like for me, man, when I'm, like my wife and daughters always say, because I got that Neanderthal forehead, like when I'm in one of those moods, or I'm in pain or something.
Yeah.
They say my horns stick out,
Oh, totally. And, like when you're in physical pain or you're tired and
or
pain, add a little hunger on there, add on a little bit of stress, and next thing you know, you're the demon. Yeah.
And then you gotta, you could be that guy to everybody around you, or you can say, hey, I got it. I'm feeling this way, but you know what? I'm not going to let this take me today. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go jam some music.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go do this, whatever it is to take that pressure off and take that weight off. And it truly helps, man.
It does. I think taking action is the critical thing, brother, because we can't outthink it. You notice we stay in the head, in the cerebral, or if we just continually feel the waves of emotion, we can't, it's very difficult to get out. But if we take an action, training, I like to, I've never been domesticated, so I do the dishes. And that makes me feel really, I guess there's almost a military, it's like cleaning weapons to me. It really is.
Yeah.
For me, when I do the dishes, it's therapeutic because it's like cleaning weapons. Or, of course, go train because you start building the good chemicals from exercise. Go for a walk. Do anything but take action. If we stay in our head or stay in our emotional brain, it might continue to spiral downwards. So let's instead spiral upwards and take action. Even if it's a small action, take action.
Take action's it's a great way to put it, brother. And I'll tell you, man, like 2 years ago, you know, about a year after I retired is when everything really hit me. I was
Yeah.
just so, every day just so stressed out. My anxiety was so high.
Yes.
I would get pissed off at anything. And my problem was I had all those things in there.
Yeah.
But I didn't talk about them. I didn't acknowledge it. And I didn't you know, face them on my terms. So like,
Sure.
for example, when I go to the gym and lift weights,
Yes.
I throw my heavy metal in,
You know
and
it.
all those demons that are in there, I don't hear them speaking when I'm in the gym.
I'm with
It
you.
shuts them up, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when I'm throwing tomahawks in the backyard or, you know, whatever it is, man. It's like, it's just like you said, you got to take action.
Take action, brother.
But the number one piece to that is you have to acknowledge as a person, as a human being, that you're human, man, and you're going to feel,
yes,
especially combat veterans that have really been in the shit, you're going to feel like you failed. You're going to feel like you let your buddies down. You're going to feel all these self-loathing, self-guilt things that, and the reason you do feel that, I believe, is because of the way we were brought up and taught. It's just like you said earlier, it wasn't about us, it's about the unit.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can come to terms with the fact that, you know, like for me, Staff Sergeant Brunkhorst, for years I couldn't even say his name. You know, I literally couldn't. And it was because, you know, I never grieved over him. So instead of grieving for Brunk, I wanted to feel the pain that Brunk felt, you know, and that pain was consuming me. And it was, and, you know, and when you think about it, when you take a step back, the pain, you know, you can turn it into good pain. You can get
you can. It can become a motivating force.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be a motivating force. Yes, brother.
Yeah, like the way I looked at it, man, is I started thinking about it, and what really kind of brought me to my head. And like I said, man, I'm not good by any means. None of us are. But if you can acknowledge that, then you can thrive. But what I really came to terms with was, you know, if I was Brunk, and I didn't make it back, or I was Johnston, or I was Huggy, or whoever, and I was, you know, I bought the big one over there, and then I'm up there looking down on these guys, and they're back home with their families, contemplating all the crazy stuff, looking back on it, blaming themselves, feeling all the pain. I would be so pissed off at those guys because
in a sense we're carrying the death sentence.
Yeah.
Because we're not living, and
they died for you to live.
They'd be so sad for us.
Yeah.
When they see us beating the shit out of ourselves and hurting and disrespecting ourselves and our hearts by behavior that's damaging to our loved ones, ourselves, especially ourselves, because again, back to that self-center and you being your own platoon and your own company, that you're the freaking United States Army of yourself now. I'm the United States Marine Corps of Rudy now. This is the Marine Corps now in here. So I need to freaking provide for those troops. I need to provide for the brain. I need to provide for the heart. I need to provide for the body. I need to serve that first. And if we do not, everyone around us suffers. And then our brothers and sisters in the other world, they'll be sad for us. They'll be so sad. All they want to see us do is be happy. All they want to see us do is be happy.
That is 100% accurate, man. I mean, that's what's helped me to come to grips with the stuff that I face. I mean, you know, man, I mean, 25 years of the military and, you know, 17 of it, however many in combat, you know, all those years back and forth, you know, you look at it all and you want to feel sorry for yourself, and you want to, you know, you're like, well, you know, I'm not, and a lot of it is, well, for one, the only thing I knew how to do well was kick the crap out of people and get guys to follow me. And then
to dominate in the environment you were in, dominate.
And then to leave that environment. And,
Yep.
you know, like somebody said it to me one day, you know, they were like, Sergeant Major, the entire time that war was going on, you lived at 100.
Yeah.
And I never thought of it that way. My brain was switched on. Even when we were back in the rear, it was always on.
Always on.
You never knew if we are going to get called up for the GRB or DRS,
That's right.
this or that. And then to take that step out, and I know you know more than me because you've been out a lot longer, to take that step, man, and everything just that, like in the 82nd Airborne, we have an old saying, you know, the 82nd's like a 120-mile-an-hour locomotive. You know, you ain't jumping off of that sumbitch until it stops. You know, and then
and it takes a long time to stop, baby.
Yeah. And then when you step out and then you take that step foot off of that train and you immediately stop, that is so scary, man. Like it
is, because
literally,
the train keeps going, baby.
Yeah.
The train keeps going. And so does our identity that has been us for so long. That's still going. And here we are. I watched an amazing documentary, and it was called The Odysseus in America. And there was a freak, actually he was an airborne, Bubba, from Vietnam, who's now a senator or congressman. And he's missing both legs and one arm. And prolific man. And he says, combat is like a river. You're in this river. And combat is the river of life and death and society and everything that we know as our existence. But after we get out, we are on the shore and it keeps going. But we are forever changed.
Yes.
And we are no longer in the flow as we were before. And I think, Mac, as I'm starting to think about this right now, I think our mission as transition warriors is to find a way to equip ourselves to get back in that river. We're going to be a little different. We're going to be, we are not who we were when we got in the river the first time. But as we step back into the river of life, that's the mission. And as you know, there's a lot of our brothers and sisters that don't know how to do that yet. This whole transition that you speak of, they're so afraid, and I understand why, because I've been there, to even go to the water's edge, much less put your toe in, much less wade in it in a little while. But for living a life and for being alive again, we have to get back in that river. We have to get back in the river.
Brother, there's no other way to put it, man. The way you just said it, I mean, it's 120% just real, right? Man. You have to get back in there. And it's, and you're not going to sink.
Yeah.
You know,
it feels so scary. It might be moving fast. It might be at nighttime, but you're afraid you may drown. But no, you're right. You're not going to drown. That's the river of life waiting for you to come back to it.
Because we as soldiers and Marines and, airmen, everybody else, we're taught. We know how to survive. We know how to stay alive.
Yes.
But the problem is when we step foot out of that environment, it gets so, like you said, man, it moves so fast, and then everything stops, and you face the toughest challenge of your life, and that is, hey, I'm out, so I need to get back in the fight. But how do I get back in the fight without being in that fight? And that's getting in that river.
How do we get back in the fight with our uniform and battle rattle? How about how do we get back into the fight of life and there's no armory to go to and get your freaking shit out? So no wonder we're scared and confused. We're like, we're used to being in the fight, and we know where to draw our weapons and where to draw ammo. We know how to fill our radios. We know who to talk to on these TADs and TACs and combine arms. Now we're in this world, without those assets and without that framework, we don't even know where to freaking draw our weapon, our proverbial weapon.
Yeah.
So no wonder it's overwhelming. And I'm sure you have been through this, and many have. They think, well, let's just do what the tap and tamps, let's just do what we've heard in the military to do. Hey, let's take our GI Bill and go to college. Brother, it ain't that simple.
Nope, not at all.
Especially for old dudes like us.
Yeah.
We're like, wait a second, we're not interested. We've got a family to provide for.
Yep.
And we're not interested in being in a four-walled classroom, right?
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, it's like you know, what I tell guys now is like I have guys ask me like, hey, what do you know, what's your goal for being an old man? And I was like, well, I don't want to be Clint Eastwood on Gran Torino.
Oh wow,
and they're
what a
like,
film.
And they're like, well, what do you mean by that? I'm like, don't get me wrong, I love Gran Torino and I love Clint Eastwood's character in there.
Incredible film because it speaks to what you're saying too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because he was the face of the angry old veteran.
And he was stuck in Korea. He was stuck in Korea until he finally opened his heart to that family.
But it
just
took
like
him
we'll
that
be
many
stuck
years.
in Iraq and Afghanistan. We will be stuck in Iraq and Afghanistan the rest of our lives until we open ourselves up and get back into that river.
Yeah, because, I mean, you see it. They did it so well in that movie to see that you could put yourself through that much pain for all those years.
Yep.
And when you finally realize that, you know, you need it for you, because he needed that kid.
He did.
You know? And
he did.
but
what a film. What a film.
Yeah, it was great. But you know, it's true, man. Like, you know, I used to think it was cool in the military. You know how it is, man. You're a badass NCO, you know, you're jumping out of airplanes, you're kicking dudes in the ass every day and everything. But and you know, like I tell guys, man, I'm like, you know, when I was your leader, brother, I couldn't be your friend.
No.
But now I can be your friend, because if I was trying to be your friend while I was in as your leader, in a lot of ways I was failing you, because
of course because you cannot be a friend and be a critical thinker when lives are on the line.
Exactly. And it's like my old sergeant major told me, he's like, you lead from here, not here. And
the emotional brain, right. The emotional brain has no place in combat, because the emotional brain, first of all, imagine, Mac, if we thought about the pain that people were going through around us, it would break our hearts. How could we act? How could we take action? How could we dominate, which actually means force protection? You know what, brother? Did you see that little documentary, a snippet of that documentary I did? I'm on the BBC right now.
The one you sent me. Yeah, yes. That was amazing.
Bro, I've gotten a lot of flack from it, from people in England and in France, Europe, high-minded places, and even some places in America. I've gotten some critique from the Muslim community, and by the way, that was just like our first rodeo. Me and you done many of them damn rodeos. And there was a part at the end, and this is speaking, it's called Once Upon a Time in Iraq, and it was speaking on the invasion of Iraq. And it was and I thought it was a brilliant documentary, because it had people from the macro. It had, I think, Bremer's assistant for the forming of Iraq. It had civilians fleeing. It had doctors, and it had warriors. It had it had enemy soldiers. And at the end of my piece, the filmmaker asked me, well, was it worth it? And I said, yes, it was worth it. It has to be worth it. Because what's the alternative? Are we going to say to ourselves that the sacred and profane things that we have done and put our lives and safety to the side for something greater, and witness suffering and pain of everyone, civilians, enemy, and us? If we want to shame ourselves for possibly being the bravest human beings on the planet to witness this totality, then it's a shame and a sacrilege to everything that God has put in front of us to experience and learn from. So I said, yes, it's worth it. What is the alternative? What's the alternative? Do you want me to be angry at myself or already feel worse about being alive because their young brothers are gone? Do you want me to beat myself up because I walked away from my wife when I came back because I didn't want anybody around me? Do you want to say that I started drinking and doing drugs and this is the only way I can process and say that my life has to exist now is because now I'm this broken, shameful thing? No way. We have been blessed to have an insight to things, especially in this country and first world countries, that they have no concept of. So let us take that and let us be successful. Let us be happy. Let us get fired up when we wake up in the morning. Let's hug our wives and our girls and our children at night. Let's work out with our homeboys and be happy and talk shit. Let's do that.
Yeah.
You know
brother.
what I mean?
Yeah. Well, man, it's funny you say that because, since I've been retired, I've done so many news interviews and podcasts and stuff. And people always ask me, like, for example, there's a book being written and, he asked me, well, do you think it was worth it? I'm like, 150% yes. Because you don't join the military because you think that the 4-star general up there, he's going to do everything that you want and it's going to make you happy. You join the military because you want to serve this country and you want to keep this country going for what it is. But the most important thing,
and you serve it honorably.
Honorably and with integrity. And integrity to me, and by integrity, I mean that, I went in the Army knowing that I wanted to be a soldier. I wanted to be a paratrooper.
Get some.
But more than that, I wanted to be around people who are legitimately the best that the human race has to offer.
I agree.
And if you ask me, well, the strategic effects of Iraq or Afghanistan, blah, blah, I could give a shit less because to me,
I agree.
As a grunt, my job is to take my soldiers, my paratroopers, take this piece of ground that my command has told me. And if I take this piece of ground and I own it, I'm saving lives, I'm accomplishing a mission, and there's a bigger objective way over me that I will never understand, nor do I need to, because that's not who I am. And if you're one of those guys that gets out and you're angry because you went and fought in Iraq or Afghanistan, you need to take a step back and be like, that's what we do. That's what we sign up for. Yes. We don't sign up like if I didn't believe with the politics of Afghanistan or Iraq, that's irrelevant.
I agree.
What's relevant is we're trained. You and I are trained for one thing: to close with and destroy the enemy.
That's right.
That's what we do.
That's right.
That's what we do. And I tell guys too, man, like, to be able to move up on the level that I moved up on, to have the blinders come off and see, what you do learn as you move up to those senior levels. And it's really affected a lot of guys I talk to because I'm able to explain why certain things happen to them. But what you really do understand is that there are tiers in the government, in the military.
Very much so.
And every tier has a job and every tier is important.
Every tier has their own objectives. Yeah. And for the whole thing to work, and we hear it in our world, and the people use it way too often. They say, stay in your lane. And sometimes that's a stifling way to say it. But at the big picture, now also we're approaching 50. The experience that we've learned from the ground all the way up, and then to realize even men like General Mattis and McChrystal are still at best mid-level management. They're not out there
Exactly.
making policy.
No.
They're not out there making policy. They are mid-level management. And now at our age, now as entrepreneurs as well, and as people in the media, we recognize that there's so much further to go. We have to influence culture. We have to get to places of political and economic power so that we have a seat at the table to have our voices heard, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And all of those wars are a part of that education.
Bingo. That's the key, man. And you know, like, and I tell anybody this, man, you should not say, was it worth it? Because it was worth it. You stepped on that ground with your brothers.
That's
and
right.
They died for you to make it
For
home.
sure.
But
For sure.
the other thing I always understood, and I do explain this to younger guys too, is they don't understand that as long as we were over there fighting, we were keeping the wolf at bay. And that's what guys like you and I do. You know, I'm not.
Yep.
Know,
and you know, we get into, you know, later I got into counterterror and became a contractor.
Yeah.
And working for State Department and being in the embassies and in the field and the embassies. Then I started seeing, wow, let us think about it energetically. And that way we don't have to demonize, even though we damn sure know that there's enemies of this country.
Yeah.
But think about it energetically. There's the forces of good and evil happening out here. And greed, and the fact that there are massive nations rising now, like China, like Iran, nations that have acquired political and military and now economic power that enslave their people. Think about that energetically, and now think about the energy here in America, in which men and women of all races, and as we know in our units, if you cut the mustard, you're our brother. It has nothing to do with your freaking color, your skin. We would in boot camp, right, brother? We're taking a shower with dudes we just met 6 hours before. You got a Asian, black, white, and Latino sharing one bar of soap. Sharing one bar of soap. We were vibrating at a much higher level of humanity. So we asked ourselves, what are we fighting for, and was it worth it? Absolutely, because we have a better quality of life and a chance for people to make it and go up and forward in this country like no other country. So us service brothers and sisters, they get upset, and I was upset when ISIS took over Iraq. I thought, damn, what did I do all that for? Now I've got a little more perspective. No, it was all worth it because we're still trying to solve the problem of making the world a better place, right?
Bingo. Yeah, it's not about what I believe. It's not about what you believe. It's about what we believe and what we can do to come together. And and yeah, man. I mean, like, and that's a, you know, like, for example, man. I mean, you know, I was in the Argon Job, which was terrible, and I had a guy hit me up the other day, and he said, you know, he heard me talking, and he's like, now I understand. He's like,
yes.
And you know,
we have, brother, even yourself and I have over the years peeled back layers of the onion. Like, it's interesting. You and I know that economic, political power and leverage is the way to be heard. Yet you and I are not one political party or another. We instead understand that as a power, it is necessary. But we're not. We know that there's no clearly defined limits to people.
Exactly.
You know that. And the whims of technology, greed, and culture can go either way very easily. We know that having a very strong military, which means also culturally, and a very strong diplomatic part of our country as well, to use soft power, is critical for the long-term benefit of the world. We saw what happens economically to our unit, our Army, our Marine Corps, our country, with long, sustained wars without the backfill, You get it. So we understand these things. That's why we're not exactly hawks or doves. why we're
No.
not any one political party. We instead see politics as a source of power that we need to get through, and to have a seat at the table to have a discussion.
That's you put that perfectly, man.
You know what I mean, brother? And that's,
yeah,
you know, a lot of our tough guys in our world that, you know, it's got to be the multi-cam ball cap and it's got to be NRA and it's got to be. And if not, you're a communist. That's not the way either for a discussion at the table. It needs to be a table in which everyone can sit if we want to work together to move forward.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that. You know, for example, when I went to the Sergeant's Major Academy, they were preaching to us that you have to earn your seat at the table. Now, what I will say, and this is what I told them, every one of us that did what you and I have done have earned our seat at the table.
Damn straight. Damn straight.
Like I told my small group leader in the Sergeant Major Academy, I'm like, by virtue of where I'm at right now, I've earned my seat at the table.
Yeah.
Now
the proof is in the pudding.
But it's up to me whether or not I keep that seat.
I agree.
You know?
I agree.
Because
manicuring
exactly.
of character, constant manicuring of skills, constant manicuring of communication abilities to further be our best. Because if I, as the United States Marine Corps of Rudy Reyes, is the best, then every other person will rise with that vibration as well. And I think, you know, now that you're bringing that up, that may be one of the best elements of men and women who serve in any capacity. Something about us ethically or genetically, emotionally, wants to be a part of the solution. I don't know any brother that joined recon and made it through the NDOC or snipers. I don't know a single one that said, I'm there because I'm a badass and I'm here to kill a bunch of motherfuckers. Instead, every person that was there said, I don't know if I have what it takes to be at this elevation with all you all, but I'm willing to give everything I got and some that I don't even know I possess to be with the best and the brightest. Right? That's a whole, so people that have not been in the military, they look at us sometimes as savage killers. Now, can we kill with savagery? Yes, but that's not the only piece of being a military man.
No. Military, you know, being in the military and growing up in that lifestyle, like literally growing up as a kid, you know, you learn that.
Rambo, remember, we grew up with First Blood. We grew up with Platoon. Yeah.
But what I learned in the military was that, and I think it's the most important thing that I learned in my life, is that every action, regardless of how small, has consequences.
Oh, well
Whether
said.
or not, if you didn't shine your boots the right way or whatever. And then those little actions, they teach you that the importance of professionalism and discipline. And the reason that those are so important is the fact that, and I see this a lot, man, you know, you get like basic infantry, Marine Corps platoons or Army infantry or airborne platoons or young police officers or whatever. If you're not teaching them that actions have consequences and decisions have consequences, i.e., and there's a reason for everything. If I say wear your shirt like this and you don't, then I need to teach you why you need to wear your shirt that way, because all that leads to understanding that this is what's in front of us. This is the mission. This is what we have to do. And in order to do that, I have to be able to, you know, I think with understanding that the actions have consequences, it really teaches you to be a critical thinker.
Critical thinker, and then you know that no detail is too small. No detail is too small.
And you know, and you learn that, and you always hear it in the military. If you see a deficiency and you don't fix it, you just created a new standard, right?
Oh, well,
that is 100% correct, though. You know, because even in the civilian world, on a job, anything, if you see something that's wrong and you don't have the candor to go say, hey, we need to fix this,
Yes.
then you just failed that person in that situation right there.
Yes.
Because in a lot of times those people don't even know they're making those mistakes.
Yes.
And, you know, and what I see
Yes.
now is, and, you know, it pains me to see people that are more, like you said, more worried about looking cool and acting savage than
Yes.
understanding what's really important in life. And what is important is understanding how things are supposed to be done.
Yes.
And doing them, like you said, to the best of your ability to be the most professional you
no
can.
No detail is too small. No,
exactly,
there's never enough passion. You can never say, "Oh, I gave enough passion."
Well, you know, I had a guy, a senior NCO, asked me in combat one time. He's like, "Sergeant Major, why the hell are these knee pads so important?" I was like, and I looked at him, and I wear knee pads to protect my knees, but I told him,
and remember, old Army, old Marine Corps was
we
like,
didn't have
you have
that.
no discipline if you wear a knee pad. You're making it easy.
Exactly.
But we've changed, haven't we?
Yeah. But what I had to explain to him was, and he still tells me to this day that rocked his world. And I said, the knee pads ain't important, man. You know what's important? And he's like, what's that? This is when I was the first sergeant. I was saying, the discipline to wear them because I told you to.
Well said. Follow through. And now think about that critical thinking in which you are actually thinking first on a personal administrative level that you're protecting yourself. You got your eye pro on. You even in the hard base, if you're moving between chow and the barracks, you got your armor and at least one magazine for your weapon. This is a way of thinking critically that you never let your guard down until you're in Maine, until you fly to Bangor, Maine, and you get off of that bird, right? With all those old timers having a parade for you. You never let your guard down overseas, ever.
And when I first became a command sergeant major and I went back to my unit, one of the first things I did was I saw guys walking across the grass and I stopped it. You know, the old joke about sergeants, majors, and grass, right?
Okay, well, I hear you.
I had some officers, NCOs. I've had people on podcasts that I did ask me, Sergeant Major, what's the big deal with sergeants, majors, and grass? I was like, I told them, I was like, it's not about the grass, man. It's about discipline.
It's about discipline and what do we say? Willing obedience to orders. Yeah. And if we can do that right, we can do everything right. If you can do that, you can run freaking Chase Manhattan, bro. You can be president of the United States if you can do that right.
And what we learn in our line of work is perception is reality.
Yep.
If you're perceived to be an undisciplined unit, especially in combat, you are going to get hit hard.
Absolutely.
But if you look like that hard target,
absolutely,
wearing your shit right, facing out, doing what you're supposed to do.
Facing out, board, doing your 5s and 25s, and if you're there for a minute, you're taking a knee. If you're there for 5, you're grabbing cover and setting up machine guns.
Yeah, brother,
you are influencing reality and therefore creating reality.
Yes, and that's the thing that like I see even in the civilian world.
And that's
right now,
the grass. That's the grass right there.
And you gotta understand that it's not about that. It's about your actions. You know, it's about actions have consequences. And if I'm walking this AO and I'm supposed to go this way, but there's a rough, nasty ass puddle and crap, and I just want to go around it. Well, nobody just cleared that. Guess what happens? Because I didn't have the discipline enough to just stay on point. You know, that's the whole point, behind that. But there was another thing I wanted to bring up, man, and I think you would get this too. Is I spoke at the National VA Suicide Conference last year, the DoD VA conference, and they wanted me to speak on the burden of decision making for leaders in combat.
Oh, well said.
I think, I think more importantly, like you when you were a recon, squad leader, sniper, you knew what you had to do, and you knew you had to make those decisions.
Yes, and I was blessed. I was blessed that I got to come up as a point man, and that's the beauty of the military as well. You never skip steps, brother. You're a point man, then a freaking and then an RTO, and then an
Yep.
assistant team leader. But I never felt that I was overwhelmed because I was groomed by proper leadership to learn through
Exactly.
the freaking ranks.
But you know what we forget is, say I'm that 18-year-old private,
Yep.
and rules of engagement state, whatever. And I had to make the split decision to take this guy out or not.
For sure.
And then I make a decision and somebody winds up dying. Then
Yes.
I'm 18 years old. I have to live with that decision for the rest of my life. And where guys like me, I think, fail is actually getting to those kids and explaining to them that, hey,
Yes.
even though you're not a team leader, you're not a squad leader.
Yep.
Every single person that steps foot on this ground is a leader.
Yes.
And you have to make split-second decisions, and you have to live with those decisions. But we don't teach those guys how to live with those decisions because
True.
they haven't been to leadership schools.
And that big
they haven't
green
had the
machine.
experience.
And I don't know if that big green machine is subtle enough
No,
to have these conversations because the
It's not.
needs of the Army and the Marine Corps are so big. These subtleties are deemed not as important as weapons maintenance and understanding fields of fire. So You're right. So that 18-year-old, in some ways, look at yourself after 25 years of service. There were part of you when you got out that was still almost arrested development. You were still 18 years old in some parts because a lot of those subtleties were not invested into you.
No.
And now we have to do those things now.
Yeah, that's what I want to get across to people is that it's not just NCOs and officers that have to make life and death decisions in combat. It's any soldier, any Marine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look,
And
Mac, did you just read, and a lot of civilians and citizens have no concept of this, about how many of our men die in training? We just had all of those young Marines die in that Amtrak, going ship to shore, doing MU training. And that was just in transit. That was without a single shot fired. Every brother and sister that serves this country in the military, there is an inherent risk. And for sure, every individual should be taught and equipped with the framework that they are a leader, even if it's just for their little piece of the pie. If that means, first of all, knowing how to freaking actuate and use your pony bottle, making sure that your FISB drop-away kit is in working order so that your freaking flotation device works, it actually comes down to left over right, how you sit for your sitting position and how you lace your boots.
Well, it's kind of like there's a quick vignette, man. Like, for example, when I was a sergeant major, I had NCOs that were not jump masters. And I'm like, you're going to jump master school. But, I go out to pre-jump or wherever, and I'm looking at guys' combat equipment rigged and all, and I'm seeing it jacked up. But, it's jacked up. And then I'm grabbing the platoon sergeant. I'm like, did you inspect his shit? And, platoon sergeant's like, I'm not a jump master, sergeant major. And I was like, what does that got to do with anything? You know how to rig a
Leadership is continuous. Leadership is continuous.
You don't put it off on somebody else because they're qualified. You inspect, I used to say, and I think, and it's kind of like with dealing with myself now, just daily when I wake up, don't expect what you don't inspect.
That's right. That's right, brother. That's right, brother. That's right, brother. And we're blessed maybe also, brother, because we came up in the older times. The world was slower. There was no cell phones and media. And do you remember, it was a while before we even got SIDS and man-packed SIDS and computers for our imagery. It was a while. It was in the 90s. Yeah. So we had the time through the training day to be in the barracks afterwards. And remember us, PFCs, privates, PFCs, lance corporals, specialists, and then a corporal was a big deal. And the corporal spent time after hours policing gear and checking you out, and then talking to you and investing in you in the culture of what you are about and what this unit means. These days, I have a feeling, Mac, that the world is so fast, to include our military. A lot of those soft lessons and personal professional military educations are being lost. But we can do something about it. We can do something. I
agree, man. And, and that's why I want to do this, man, because I don't want it to be just for, people that are veterans. I mean, active duty guys are going to watch this, and
for sure.
And you might think that leader is a freaking asshole, but guess what? That guy that freaking kicks your butt for being jacked up daily or whatever, did you think
he loves you?
He loves you. Now the guy that's like, hey man, it's all good, it's all good.
Yeah.
That's a me guy. It's not, and that's what's hard, especially when you're younger, because I had dudes that I thought were Satan.
Yeah.
But then when I grew up, I was like, that dude really gave a shit about me, because
absolutely.
Absolutely. But man, like, the idea behind this, and as I go, I'll figure it out more, but I just want talk like this, because neither one of us, we're not sitting here talking about all the badass shit we did and all that stuff, because guess what? Who cares at the end of the day?
And there's plenty of books and movies about all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That does not serve us going forward.
Exactly. Like me, just like you said, when I was coming up, I thought everybody in the Army looked like Rambo.
Yeah.
So that's who I wanted to look like. Which, I mean,
of course, bro.
You got the Rambo thing going, but all of us ain't no Rudy Reyes. But my point is like, I came in the military, and then I understood what was, what it was about, and I realized I was good at it.
Yes.
And I learned that, is just with anything else, what I really learned, I think, and I think I'm getting better at it now, is, just because somebody makes a mistake, it doesn't mean that they're damaged goods and you just get rid of them.
I agree. And I would say that, look at us now in our transition, we have to remember that lesson for ourselves, because sometimes when I make mistakes now, I'm really, really hard on myself. And we would not treat our junior Joes and our Marines that way. Why do we treat ourselves that way? And we have to shift that dialogue. Our internal dialogue needs to change.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing too, man, is like, for example, say you were a sergeant first class or a gunny sergeant, and you've been in, 15, 17 years, right?
Yep.
And then you've had a stellar career, and then all of a sudden you go out one night, your wife cheated on you or something happened, and you got drunk and you got a DUI. Then the next thing you know, we're booting you out.
Uh-huh.
But I can tell you from a sergeant major's point of view, when I was in, what I was really supposed to worry about was, once you got booted out of that position, is filling that damn platoon sergeant slot.
Sure.
I wasn't focused on, is he okay? What's he doing when he gets out? Because his whole life just crashed down around him. And that's the other thing I want to get out to people, is that, just because your leaders, when you were in and you got out, didn't reach out to you, it doesn't mean they don't care. Yes. It just means, like you said, the train is moving so fast that you just have to stay on it.
Yes,
and I wish we were better at that as senior leaders in the military, but it's just the way it's laid out. And that's why, anytime
the machine's not set up for that kind of subtlety, brother.
It's not.
It's just not.
It's not. But that's why, like you said earlier, man, it's up to guys like us to kind of take the spear and move forward and be the tip of the spear for these guys.
For sure.
To see that, we transition, but there's guys out here that still care about you, man. Your brothers that are there will still always love you.
It never ends.
Those leaders, like any of those guys that, I didn't talk to them when they got out or whatever, but the deal. If they would have called me, I would have helped them in a heartbeat. It's just the mission moves so fast, and then especially in our world, it was, I got to fill this slot because we're going to Iraq next week or 2 weeks.
We got to be a TO platoon. We got to be a TO company, and we got to make it happen.
Yep.
And what's wild now, our platoon, like, we're in a platoon together. Now we're, you know what I mean? We got me, we got Tim, we got Nate Boyer, you got you. We're in this new platoon called, the Life After. The Life After. And
I love it, man.
And we support each other. We talk to each other. We promote one another. It's being right back in the barracks as a young NCO again. fired up, and we've got something hot to handle, and we have an impossible mission ahead of us. But you know what? No more fired up crew could you find. That is the new discussion that we need to do as the life after. It needs to be that same kind of passion. And look what we do. You're utilizing your media. You're utilizing your leadership in the way that people love you and look up to you, brother, from a quarter century of service. You have a spiritual weight and a perspective that very few have. So this is we're doing it, brother. We're doing it. Yeah. I do it with Force Blue. We both do it with media and sharing a message of empowerment as opposed to victimhood, because you know that goes nowhere. Empowerment, there's no stopping you, right? No. I mean, that's the discussion now and the action. Look, we're taking action with our physical fitness, mental wellness, better communication with our families. We have to get stronger economically. You and I can live in a dirt hole right now. Yeah. And we can, with some 550 cord and a freaking poncho, we can set up a bivouac and we can make fire. Yeah. But that's not serving us at the highest level now. That's surviving. We need to start thriving. We need to start
thriving, man. Yeah, absolutely, brother. Yeah. So, man, like I said, I mean, we've been on it here in an hour and a half, brother. You know, we could talk all night. But what I'd like to do, man, is once whenever I do post this, I'm going to ask for questions, and then maybe a week or two down the line, you and I can jump on for like 30 minutes.
I always got your back, brother. I always got your back.
And like I'm telling guys, DM me, man. Shoot me an email. Sure. Ask me questions, because I might not have the answers, but I got a lot of experience, man. And that's
right. And we're still there available. It makes us who we are, is that we're still, this is the new fight, brother. This is the fight. And
it makes me feel like I'm in the fight,
I agree. And we need that, bro.
Yes, we do. Because it feels that, it keeps that heart strong, man. Like you said, to know that. And like I said, man, well, actually, you said it earlier. It's like, we could be those guys that still have the high and tight, still wear a rank on our shoulders and all that stuff. But what I want guys to understand is, man, you got to do what makes you happy. That's right. Like, I mean, hell, look at me, man. My hair's getting long.
Oh, I got a big ass beard. Bro.
I got freaking earrings,
Brother, I had to change my look for a job, but it's all right. Because just like we can blend, hide, and deceive and candy up for the freaking mission, I am now just the United States Marine Corps of Rudy. And whatever the mission is, I'm going to make it happen.
And you're going to do it for you, and that's
I am doing it for me, brother. I'm so happy that I'm even in that conversation in which I get to act and I get to model. Yeah. And I'm even in those circles now to express myself. Our brothers and sisters out there that have not had that opportunity don't know how therapeutic it is. And it's so therapeutic.
Exactly. It is, man. And so with that said, brother, why don't you just give us a quick talk about Force Blue and Radioactive, man.
Sure, brother. Well, when I was struggling really deep after recon and then after war, and then I got into film and television, but I had not addressed all the pains and fears, and I had not addressed my anger at feeling useless in this world. So no job, no piece of status, no drug or alcohol, no woman could fulfill that piece. I became very self-destructive. And to imagine a person with such a good heart as myself to become so self-destructive, and I think people need to hear this. If it could happen to me, it can happen to anybody.
Yes.
If it could happen to this true blue, loyal Marine who still takes insects outside and will not wantonly kill or destroy anything. Instead, we'll try to nurture everything. If that can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. When that, I found myself in an institution for a whole year because I was acting out with extreme violence and substance abuse and depression. Depressed. The truth is, Mac, I was very depressed. Very depressed.
Yeah.
And we're taught that malaise and lack of energy is weakness. So I was really down on myself.
Yep.
My son, the ability for me to see my son Dylan was taken away. I lost work. Therefore, I lost my pride. And by the grace of God and also the training and discipline of the military, I never stopped trying to improve myself. Even though I was attrited, even though I had 1 foot on the brake, 1 foot on the gas, and the emergency brake on, and no transmission fluid, I still turned that freaking vehicle over every day. That gave me enough of a survival impetus to keep moving forward a little bit at a time. And then I ran into other brothers that were in the same boat, and I use that term literally and figuratively. And my career of being amphibious, being a combat diver, and all this hoo-yah badass stuff, what was most important is that I was in the field. You remember as all your time as being a soldier, what beauty you saw in the field, even sometimes in combat, the beauty. I got back to beauty. I started diving again, and I understood quickly that the coral reefs were in danger, and therefore all of the community under the water and on the surface, all the economy goes away too. I said, well, this is a fight for me. I need to fight. You said it as well. Staying in the fight is critical for health. I have a new fight, and it's defined with fighting for the environment, fighting for our oceans and coral reefs, and doing it with other brothers and sisters like us who have a tireless dedication to duty and a passion that's unmatched. Our passion's unmatched. And we partnered with the NFL. We were at the Super Bowl last year. We'll be at the Super Bowl this year. We spoke at the United Nations 2 months ago.
That's amazing.
Look at what we're, a bunch of jarheads and a bunch of freaking knuckle draggers. It just goes to show you, there's no way you can judge a book by its cover. And although you and I do not have master's degrees and didn't come up at Yale or Harvard, we have a level of education and leadership communication and an ability to follow through that few others have. And so now Force Blue, my nonprofit, you might have seen Geico did a commercial about us. We are getting there, brother. And I still continue to do my fitness and wellness with Rudy Active, and that started with the Sorenex family, my family in strength, I have my brand as RR, Rudy Reyes, but it's like an element, the human element, and the atomic number is infinity because there's no end to that kind of power and energy. And I got them in different colors because we all have different freaking personalities. And of course, I got one in OD and black for our tactical brothers too. And every opportunity, brother, you and myself, people like us, we are a brand ambassador for warrior transition. We are a brand ambassador for the life after. And these things work together also to empower me on my daily struggles too. And you can find me at Real Rudy Reyes on IG, rudyreyes.com on the website, forceblueteam.org or Mission of Virtue. And of course, I'm doing movies and TV. I just, Semper Fi just came out on Netflix a couple months ago, and I was a military advisor, and I act in there as the captain of the platoon. I've been doing video games. I can't because of the non-disclosure agreement. I am now acting and the lead character, I will just say, in the biggest video game in the world. And I've been shooting and doing work for them and continue to brand and live my brand and model, Rudy Active, which you can find on my Instagram. And the sky's the limit, brother. This is only the beginning. This is like I'm only just starting, man. And if we can get that message out to everybody else out there that every day is a beautiful opportunity to start something special.
Well, brother, like I said, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on here. One, just amazing. I mean, the conversations we could have, man, just, but, and two, being my second guest, and, this is going to help me, because you're following, man, help me get more people involved
Absolutely.
And
And
like
of course, I
said,
spread the message. You know, something else, our brothers and sisters out there that are quasi-famous in our warfighting world, let's please put the message out to them. Listen, by sharing and being inclusive of other brothers and sisters, you elevate, the rising tide raises all ships.
truth.
You know, it's dog eat dog world out here, as you know.
Yeah.
Let's not succumb to that low vibration thinking. Let's help and empower each other. And I'm happy to share your message, brother. I love that one that you spoke very succinctly and very emotionally and very directly about, like, you know, I'm going through my bullshit too. I've had a couple drinks. You know what, man? I worked out today, and I want to let everybody know out there, you got to love yourself. And you being the warrior for this country and this world starts with you being the warrior for yourself, which means respect and love yourself. These are the things that we need to do to empower and to include one another. I've got Sunga Life as well, my seals that I do my swimwear with. My shirts are printed through Sunga Life. Jeff Gum, a seal that's just got the heart of gold. We have something in California called the Soft Squad. It's SEALs, Rangers, Recon, and we are all in the life after now, helping each other with business, helping each other with message, helping each other with nonprofits. We are so much stronger together. Look what we accomplished overseas together with a switched on mind and discipline. We can do that now in the life after.
Absolutely, brother. I couldn't have said that any better way. Like I said, man, you know, I don't have what you guys have, but did my headphones just die? Can you hear me?
I got you, brother.
Okay, I heard a little thing. So, but you know, I don't have the following you have, man. But you know,
but
like
we'll get you there. And you know, I can see us again in politics one day, advising, or even being mayor, maybe becoming congressman. Dan Crenshaw showed a very good example of that.
Yes.
These, you know, we can do this, brother. And this is, I mean, look at John McCain. He's a hero of mine, bro. John McCain. Let's look at that patriot and that father and that very human man that did the right thing by being inclusive and helping all people come together. These are examples that we have to remind ourselves of, and we can do it, bro.
Yeah, brother. It's about, you know, it's not about what you did, where you served, who you are. It's about being human and loving each other, man. And
that's right.
And I truly, like, honestly, you know, I have no anger towards anybody, man. I love everybody. I might not look like it. But I do, man. And
I hear you.
And I fight that fight, man, for me. And a lot of the strength I get to fight that fight is from the love of people like you, Rudy. And
Thank you,
it
brother.
means so much, man.
I'm here for you always, brother. You know that.
Yeah, same here, man. But well, yeah, brother. Like I said, man, we'll cut this, man. But I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for the help. And
absolutely. And Mac, we should do an IG live sometime, and then we can field questions.
Awesome, brother. Well,
I'll teach you how to do that. Also, if it's an hour or less, you can post it in its entirety on your IG story, so it becomes recorded as well.
Yeah, I tried to do that last time and it didn't work. So yeah.
Okay, well, maybe I can do it and I can bring you on as a guest, and I know how to do it.
That would be awesome, brother. Okay, well, like I said, man, yeah, bro, I love you, man, and I'm so glad to have you on here.
I love you, brother, and stay in the fight. You know, we are back in that river, and we're freaking swimming, brother, and there's so much beauty ahead. I look forward to bringing more of our brothers and sisters together. Nate Boyer, thank you. My veteran community and Stephen, look at our citizen artist community. Yeah. We're all part of the same team for the fight for a better country, a better world. Better world, brother. That's it, man. So like I said, brother, I love you, and I really appreciate you being here, man. And one day I can't wait to get you in the actual man cave. We'll freaking. Oh, I'm coming, brother. As soon as we whoop this COVID's ass. And you know what we're finding out, President Trump, thank you. We're finding out that there's a way through it with basically malaria medication, the stuff, Doxy, that we've taken our whole freaking careers. But we're going to get through it, brother. They're probably going to find out we're immune to it later on. Yeah. Oh, of course. All the anthrax and stuff. I mean, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, brother.
All right, brother. I love you. I'll talk to you so soon. And
All right,
stay
brother.
in
Love you
fight,
too,
baby.
man. You too,
got it.
brother. Take care.